Hi, welcome to the Tiny Leaders Reborn Tournament Review. I'm going to be reviewing my gameplay of my most recent win. Yes, that is correct. I am so excited. I won against Leovold, which is pretty exciting. So here's the first match. The first match I lost, followed by 2 wins on my part. Hold on, let me skip ahead. Alright. So here, my opening hand is rife with combo pieces, so the only reason why I kept this hand here was mainly because of Ragavan, because I knew that it produced both mana and a threat. So what my plan was just to play Ragavan and hope to find the other combo pieces, because I had Devilish Valet and Squee. So if I just drew a food chain, I would basically win the game. My opponent had Serulf Realm Eater, which is really good in this format due to the amount of fetch lands that are present, and just the fact it can get rid of all of my tokens, and full of Bogarden, Hole Breacher, and Leovold perform a nasty lock, which you'll see later, and Thoughtseize, which is played on turn 1. We both roll, we both tie and get a 3. I then roll a 1. My opponent rolls a 7. So, this is basically just the Thoughtseize that went off. I play Stomping Ground tapped because I lost my 1-drop play, so I didn't want to lose 2 life and shock myself. So basically, my opponent is just going through the plays and stuff. I try to cast Food Chain combo with Squee. My opponent has Hole Breacher at the end of my turn, which doesn't really matter because I exile instead of draw most of the time. So now it's my turn. My opponent passes. I try to resolve Food Chain, hoping that my opponent doesn't have anything. My opponent casts Wash Away for Cleave Cost, and I very sadly am like, oh no, Food Chain. That's basically my win condition in this scenario. Uro comes in. Now I'm like, okay, now I'm in the shitter because Uro's in the graveyard and can be unearthed. Not unearthed, but escaped. I cast Faldorn. I crack a fetch land. I kill the Hole Breacher just in case I do for some reason have some card draw that I forgot about, which I do, Faithless Looting. My opponent then plays Leovold, which I'm very sad about, unearths the Hole Breacher, which made me really sad because now I can't really draw cards. I discard Eternal Scourge, play Den of the Bugbear from exile, foretell Green Slime, which won't do anything this game because my opponent is just drawing a bajillion cards because I try to just do things. Seraph comes out. I try to braid Seraph, gets countered. Draws a card off of Leovold, try to make my board state absolutely massive. Anvil of Bogarden, which really sucks because Green Slime can't counter Anvil because it's not activated or triggered, which makes me feel really sad. I try to cast Jessica's Will for hand advantage. I play the Scalding Tarn for land, and then I play the other exile card from my hand I just have a bajillion wolves. And my biggest mistake here was at the end of the turn I tapped Scalding Tarn pumping up Seraph, which I shouldn't have done because then my opponent on their upkeep uses Seraph to remove every single token on my board, which felt really, really bad. And basically from there, I lost because I was unable to draw cards because Anvil of Bogarden, Leovold, Hole Breacher all prevented me from winning the game, which made me feel really, really sad. My opponent uses the escape cost to get Uro, and I realized that I'm dead because of the lock, and I am just letting it win out just in case I get a card. The card, the Phyrexian Mana Green card that lets you get stuff from the top of your graveyard, or from the graveyard to the top of your library, but then I realized the lock. and then I concede, which made me feel really sad. The second match was definitely representative of how aggressive this deck can get and how unnecessary the combo can be and how focusing on the combo can actually hinder gameplay. So here I have a great hand. Faldorn into Lelia, it's great. I try to ride a flame, Faldorn, it gets washed away. Feels bad. But I have a trick up my sleeve, and that is Lelia, which is hasty. And as you can see, I just go in, I'm just hitting face. And then my opponent cast something which scared me at first. But then I remembered I have green slime in my opening hand, which is why I chose this hand, just because it's full of good stuff. Professional Facebreaker, green slime, Atarka's Command, Worldly Tutor. My opponent goes, untaps all their lands, passes the turn with Pernicious Deed up, trying to, before Lelia does any combat attack, triggers, or whatever, tries to get rid of Lelia. I do green slime, immediately countering and then destroying it from hand, and then my opponent is pretty much out of the game. So Deathrite Shaman is played, Dark Confidant, just as blockers. I try to Lightning Bolt, it gets Mental Misstep. I try to Professional Facebreaker, it goes through, and then I try to Dharmir's Ambush, it gets countered by Spell Snare, which is like Mental Misstep, but for 2 mana value artifacts, or not artifacts, spells. And then, wow, I'm doing pretty good, because I exile a Braid off the top, and then I cast Atarka's Command. Atarka's Command deals 3, and I pump up my fellows, and then since I have a Braid from exile, my opponent knows that even though they can chump block, they are really mega dead. For game 3, it was similar. It was a little bit longer than game 2, but it was still very, very aggressive. So game 3, this hand, I realized it was going to suck, especially going second. I needed something more aggressive to make up for it. My opponent has Chill, which hurts a lot, especially because this is a red deck, Wash Away, all this stuff. My opponent names Faldorn off of Pithing Needle, which reduces the amount of value I can get off of Faldorn because of her tap ability. I use Ragavan, I Ride a Flame, I use Robber of the Rich, and this is where it gets fun. I exile first. Each time I said I would use the Robber of the Rich trigger first, followed by the Ragavan one, so it wouldn't be any confusing which one was be able to cast. So you can see this one is not Bloodchief's Thirst is now under Robber of the Rich. Chill comes down, which felt really bad because I could not cast anything in my hand, in fact. But here's where it got fun. Using Robber of the Rich, I got Mental Millstep, and off of Ragavan, I got Thoughtseize. So I Thoughtseize my opponent, and then I used the Spectacle cost +2 on Chill. So it's basically just normal, light up the stage to exile. And this is where my opponent just realized that they were not in a good position. Because I knew their whole entire hand state, so I wasn't going to tap out to cast my commander. And I wasn't going to do anything too risky, especially since I knew everything in their hand. I get Baleful Strix with Robber of the Rich. Or not Baleful Strix. I get Baleful Strix with Ragavan, I think. I don't know. I don't even cast Food Chain this game. I just go in for it. I have Baleful Strix. I have Snapcaster Mage. I just casted them for body. And then I untap, and then my opponent concedes because they did not have any plays. So as you can see in the first game, the biggest issue was I got an opening hand that was too focused on the combo, and I got greedy. Even though I had Food Chain, and I knew my opponent would have counter spells, I tried to cast Food Chain, even though my opponent wasn't tapped out. And that was the biggest issue in the first match. The second match and the third match were great because I had to focus on more of an aggressive start due to this deck being more of an aggro deck with a combo finish. I should really remember when mulliganing that this deck focuses on aggressive plays and has the combo pieces for a combo matchup against control. Because the deck, I've realized, is really good at grinding out against control decks. Even though it being an aggro deck, it doesn't really run out of fuel if you play it right. And I've played it right many times against control decks, eventually just drawing out all the pieces to successfully pull off the food chain combo and create a giant board state. What I would say though, however, is sometimes I just really want to get like infinite wolves, so it's very tempting to get in, like, keep a hand with a bunch of combo pieces, which is my biggest fault because I really just want to get infinite wolves in this tournament. Actually, this whole entire tournament, the only reasons why I've won is because I never casted the combo, which is really interesting because I built this deck solely around the idea of the combo, but it's more become an aggro deck with a combo finisher, which is really interesting because in Tiny it seems that combo finishers, big finishers, aren't really as popular as just winning the game with creatures and slowly beating down your opponent. I would say though, Wash Away is something I need to watch out for in my later matchups because I forget that's pretty good in this format. Because for 1 mana you can counter a commander. Anyways, this was my second matchup in the Tiny Leader tournament, and I hope you like my review and explanation of my plays. I will do this for the next match, whether I win or I lose, but if I lose next round, I will probably cry while explaining it. But this is just a good retrospective for me. Have a wonderful day, and I love you all. See you in the next video. Bye!